we have a lot to talk about for our next topic, which is Gaussian splats. Now, before we continue, let me just tell you that I'm no expert on this topic, and what we'll be doing here is we'll just take a look at the pros and cons of this, the potentials and the limitations, because I experimented around with the topic and now I just want to share my thoughts with you. So definitely take them with a grain of salt and, do your own experiences. This would be the best. It says Bitcoins, wow, do recommend the idea to chaos. Well, I'll think about it. Okay, so obviously this topic with the Gaussian splats is not random. It's related to the recent release of V-Ray 7, which alongside all the other improvements and new features also supports Gaussian splat models. By the way, there is a great video. So this is the new version, V-Ray 7 for 3ds Max. And there is a great video by Ricardo Eloy from CG Architect showcasing all of those 14 features that you get with the new version of V-Ray. Check it out. It's in the group. And also, since yesterday, there is a video by Ricardo with his take on Gaussian splats in V-Ray 7. He finds them amazing, and I tend to very much agree with this. He shared it in the video yesterday, so if you have missed it, go back and watch it. Also, on his most recent webinar, Mike also took a closer look at V-Ray 7, all the new features and improvements, and also briefly at the Gaussian splats as well. Anyway, this is how things went, because once again, I want to tell it a bit more as a story rather than become immediately very, very technical. So V-Ray released on October 31st, which is Halloween for those who celebrate it. I don't celebrate Halloween for the religious part. This doesn't mean anything to me, to be very honest with you. I just like the spooky masquerade. So yeah, as Suavi shared the release video for the official release of V-Ray 7, and as Mike made his live on October 31st introducing V-Ray 7, I was in the garden preparing and later having a Halloween party. Luckily for me, however, what happens on the campus stays on the campus. So the next day I was able to rewatch the video and also watch the recording of Mike's evening show. And once again, among all the great features, and they really are, I'm a Corona user, I love Corona, but I have to admit that I'm absolutely envious for the new features of V-Ray, because they're really making the artist's life easier. Anyway, among all those features, one stood out to me a lot, and it was the support for Gaussian splat models. Now, Gaussian splat models are more or less a new topic. They became a thing in the last years. I have an article here for you. It's pretty short and on point. You can take a look at it if you want to. But yeah, Gaussian splat models became a thing in the last years because of this rapid advancement in machine learning, in these neural rendering techniques like NeRFs and things like this. I don't want to talk more about it because I also don't understand it way better than I can tell you. But yeah, they never really felt relatable to me and my work and my workflow, because there was no engine that was supporting them. So to me, they were nothing more than a nice gimmick. However, with the release of V-Ray 7, this very much changed. So as I saw that V-Ray 7 now supports Gaussian splats, I decided to try it out. So I researched the whole process, and the whole process is more or less this. These are just a few steps. So in the first step, you take your scene or object, whatever it is, take multiple photos of it or a video. In the second step, you turn it into a Gaussian splat model. And for this, you use one of the softwares that you can find listed down in this article. So Nerve Studio, Polycam, Luma AI, or Postshot. There are certainly more. These are probably the most popular and most capable ones. I myself decided to go with Postshot. It is a very, I'll share this article with you too, by the way. So yeah, Postshot is very simple, very easy to use. The software is still in beta, but it's truly functional, fully capable, and it's also completely free. There is a great tutorial that I watched and followed in order to know how to work with the software by Black Mixture. I will share this one with you as well, so you don't have to type it afterwards if you watch the recording or if you want to get back to it. Anyway, so I used PostShot, but you can use also some of the other software solutions at your disposal. And in the third step, you import the newly created Gaussian splat model into your scene with the help of V-Ray. And obviously, as we know, in the fourth step, you profit from this. That's it. Okay, so much for the theory. Now, let's check the practical application. Now, to me, it was incredibly important to create the Gaussian splats myself. Because only then they would be useful to me. You see, in the past almost 13 years of my career, I have spent countless hours recreating the surroundings of the buildings that I was actually tasked to visualize. I remember working on a competition. I created the high-rise building. This was a big one, in 2 days with all the revisions and stuff. And then I spent 7 work days creating the surroundings. So this is obviously tedious, tiresome, and let's call it as it is. It's a waste of time. So of course, I'm looking for alternative solutions that can help me avoid doing this in future. And this is why it is important that I am able to create my specific surroundings, because it is true that online there are free Gaussian splat models for you to download and experiment with. However, this doesn't really help you, or it wouldn't help me if I can download a Gaussian splat model from New York if I need to build a house or visualize a house in a street in Germany. So I need to be able to create the splat surrounding on my own, and only then this method can be useful to me. So what I did is I went out in the garden. I took yesterday's pumpkin, Mr. Pumpkin, you already saw him, put him on a lawn, and then I took a video of him. And now I'll start showing you all my experiments. So yeah, I took this video of Mr. Pumpkin. It will now show up for you to see. It's just me walking around him. I just speed it up so that we don't waste time. It's just me walking around him, showing him or filming him from all sides, a bit closer on the top and the front because there is a lot of detail here. And that was the whole video. You can see it is only around half a minute long. Next, what I did is I opened PostShot and then took the video file and just drag and dropped it here. Now, the moment you do this, this import settings window pops up, asking you about the configuration before you start training your Gaussian splat model. Now, I can tell you so much that the default settings here are already very, very good. You can choose if you want the training to happen based on the best images or based on all images. Of course, if it's the best images, the program will only select the best ones. If it's all images, it will take all 2000 images, which of course will take longer to process. Also, you can try out different radiance field profiles. I just go with the default one, the MCMC, but there are also nerve profiles. You can try them all out if you feel like it. And down here, you can also say when the training stops. So it's in K steps, so in 1000 steps. In the moment, it will stop after 30,000 steps. If I change this number to 60,000, for example, the model will be more detailed, will look better, but it will, of course, process way longer, or twice as long. But yeah, let's just say import. You see there is a checkbox which says start training. So the moment you press the import button, it will start training. And the progress you can actually see down here in the corner. So first thing that it does, it selects the images because we set it up to select the best images to train the model on. So this is what it's doing now. It's selecting the images. Next, it will start tracking the camera and finally training the model. Now, be aware, you see here, on my case, it says primary compute device. It's my NVIDIA GeForce RTX 1490. This is a very strong card. So in my case, things don't take a long time. Of course, depends on the model. Yeah, if your card isn't as strong, or if you do it with a CPU, it can take longer. Just so you know. You see, it's tracking the camera as I told you, and in the meantime, I will check out Mariana's comment. She says, Gaussian Splat was the last drop that convinced me to pass to 3ds Max. As you well said, it's extremely useful, especially for architectural competitions. Yeah, we'll take a look at that next. But there are some limitations. There are some things that we need to, just get around with or find a workaround for. But apart from that, yeah, they're great. So, and you see here, the pumpkin starts appearing in the form of a point cloud, but I think you can already recognize it. Now, at this point, I will just stop it because we don't want to wait for this to happen. And I will just open the final model. We won't save the changes here. And I will just open the final model to show you. It doesn't matter with this program, at least, it doesn't matter how the viewport looks like when you save it. So if I save it with a viewport showing this and then I reopen it, it will still send me somewhere where the model doesn't look that impressive, as you saw, but this isn't that important. Anyway, let's take a look at the pumpkin. As you can tell, everything is perfectly captured. It was only this 30-second video, and as you can tell, I can move around this object. I can view it from all directions, and all the small detail, the leaves, and even the small fine toothpicks are still here. And I think that this is absolutely impressive. Now, the surroundings here look pretty bad. Why? Because if you think back about the video, I didn't take any video of the surroundings. I just focused on the pumpkin, and this is why they look like this. And this obviously isn't that great. Now, if I tried to export the Gaussian Splat model now, everything I need to do is to go to File, Export Splat Model, and I will be able to do this. And if I saved it, this would be this one, Tails Halloween Pumpkin, and it is 730 megabytes of size, which is not really small. Now, why do I need to take these surroundings with me when they look like crap? I don't. So what I can do next is I can go to the Scene, Radiance Field, Crop Box, and down here, the Properties, the Parameters menu pops up. And as you can see, there is a checkbox called Crop. If you press it, a crop or cut volume appears. And then I can reduce my splat, the dimensions of it. This box, you can do this, you can scale, make it larger, smaller, you can rotate around, you can move around, and you can then make it so that only this part of the model that you really need is selected. And if I were to export this splat model, then it would be this one down here, which is pumpkin cut. And as you can see, this one is 460 megabytes, which is almost 300 megabytes smaller. So you also have the option to cut your models before exporting them out of this great software called PostShot. Now let's go over to 3ds Max. By the way, folks, how is the speed of this presentation? Is it too quick to follow, or is it too slow? Is it interesting? Let me know. In the meantime, I will show you how to import Gaussian Splat model into your scene. So you just go to the V-Ray menu, and then you go to V-Ray Gaussian geometry, and that was all of it actually. So let's place it exactly in the middle. And if we then go to these properties, Daniel says, I also created one this weekend. It would be great if we modified it inside of Max and convert to mesh inside of Max. Yeah, that would be really amazing. It says it's a nice space, how it has to be. Okay, great. Glad to hear this. So if you want to import your Gaussian Splat model, you just go to File, the three dots to the right, and then you just select the cut version here of the Halloween pumpkin, and then you simply import it. It takes a second, and here it is already. Now let's make it a bit larger. As you can see, the axis is wrong, so we have this option here, flip axis. Just check it, and the model is there, and the axis is as it should be. Now, obviously, this is very, very small. Given that this is a pumpkin, I would say let's give ourselves a dummy that can help us, scale it to appropriate size. I'll just use the keyboard entry function and give this dummy a radius of 20 centimeters. And obviously, it is it is way bigger than our imported Gaussian splat model. So what we need to do next is I'll just select the Gaussian splat model and I will just scale it. Let's say we scale it to something like 30%. If you want to move it around, by the way, this is important. If you want to move it around, you need to either pick that point here or the bounding box of it, right? So, sorry. Let's put it here. Let's come here. I should have done it. Oh, man. This is why I don't do something like this in a perspective view. So yeah, let's take a look at this. This looks pretty good already. I think we can hide our dummy now, and we already have the model here inside. And what we can do next is just show the V-Ray frame buffer. Yes, we want this to be the default render engine, and then just start the interactive render. Please note that we haven't done anything in terms of lighting setup and stuff, and the scene is already there. And if I were to select my sphere, now it can happen that you have certain delays with the video or with my voice, because we are now currently rendering. But yeah, I can rotate around, I can do whatever I want, and I can view this model from each direction that I feel like. And I think that this is absolutely amazing how easy it works. Like, it's just literally just a few steps and you already have the model at your disposal. And once again, just take a look at this detail. I know it's a render preview, it's still a bit messy, maybe pixelated, but take a look. Every single toothpick is clearly visible. And this is just mind-blowing, if you ask me. Okay, but enough about this. I want to show you more examples. So we will just close this scene. Remember, I gave you this scene and the model to experiment with. So if you want to experiment with this one, you can do so whenever you please. Okay, so I made further experiments that I also plan to show you now. Next, I made a video of my fireball, of our fireball from the garden. I'll show you the video and then I'll once again show you the model. And this we will do a few times. So once again, I'll speed it up. This is just a fireball with all the burnt wood in it, and obviously placed on gravel with some stuff on it, fallen leaves, debris and stuff like this. And let's see how it turned out as a model. We'll just open, how does it go? Fireball. Okay, no, we won't save the changes, and here it is. And once again, if we take a look at this like that, if we zoom in a bit, you'll see the fireball looks amazing. All the details are there, the gravel, all the debris on the floor, the fallen leaves, everything is perfect. However, once we lower the camera, you see that the underside of the ball is a total mess. I'll show you one more example as a video first, and then once again as a Gaussian splat model. This was a flower in a vase, or a bouquet in a vase that we had at home. So because it's so fragile, so fragmented with all these small tiny forms, I decided to experiment with it as well. So as you can see, I once again made a video showing it from all sides. I even zoomed in on the blossoms and on the leaves because I really wanted to get some detail on them. And you see we have a video which is approximately 1 minute long. And let's see how it turned out as a Gaussian splat model. Once again, all of those models I actually trained with only 30,000 steps. So if you train them with 60,000, they will be more detailed in the end. This is something that we should remember. But yeah, this is how it turned out. I was really impressed that the training managed to actually understand that these leaves are something that doesn't belong to the background, And you see how much we can zoom in, and we have all the fragility of those leaves, and also great detail on the texture. So this looks really, really good from all sides, as you can tell. Now, once again, however, if we take a look at the underside, it looks pretty messy once again. And also, here a second issue occurred. This is this white surface. So I think what we can conclude so far is, first of all, if you want an object to be visible from all directions, you should also depict it or film it from all directions. So if I wanted to take a look at the vase from down under, I should have also had footage from here so that the program knows how to train the model properly. And the second thing is, obviously, smooth white surfaces aren't that great for training because the software kind of fails at properly depicting them, even though this is just a simple white surface, nothing special to it. So this is what we've learned so far. And with all this knowledge, I tried it one final time. I scanned a chair, the chair that you saw in the Keeping It Realistic chat. Once again, I will speed it up. I'm going around it. Why I did want to scan this one. This is a chair we actually want to throw away. It's pretty historic. It would make sense to restore it, but it would be so much work that we simply won't be able to do it. So yeah, we want to actually get rid of it. But obviously, as a 3D model, I really loved all the weathering happening on it, how the paint is falling off and stuff like this. So you see, I tried to scan it from more than one direction, and let's see how it worked out. And once again, despite the very fragmented nature of this object, I think it worked out pretty fine from very different directions. So, and what's great about it is what you see here aren't just flat textures. The paint peeling off the wood is actually three-dimensional, as it should be, you know. But once again, when you look from the wrong angle, it doesn't really work. So this is definitely a limitation, and if you really want it properly depicted, you really need to properly film it or photograph it from all directions. Okay, I think enough about this, and remember always you can crop your models, because once again, take a look at the surrounding here, you don't really need it. So just crop it, and then you end up with something like this, which is way more lightweight and way more usable. Okay, then a few days later, I decided to go a step further and see how I can incorporate this into my work. So I got to another part of the garden and took a pretty long video. You see it's almost 3 minutes long. Oh, you don't see this because it's behind my window. But yeah, it's an almost 3-minute long video of this table. It's built in there. I cannot move it around. So I just filmed it where it is situated. This time I made sure to also film the undersides, to take some closer shots of the texture of the table. And by the end of the video, I'll speed up once again. I also made sure to also film some of the surroundings as well, because all the previous models that we saw, I was only focusing on the object itself, but not on its immediate surroundings. So this is what it looks like. I wanted to also have the leaves. I wanted to have something which is a bit higher. So let's take a look how this turned out as a model. So we'll open this one here. It is called table, really appropriately called. And yeah, we are stuck somewhere in the middle, and I absolutely cannot recognize where we are. I didn't have an issue like this so far, but of course this is a live show, so something like this must happen. Let's try it once again. I'll just say new, and then I'll try to open the table. Oh, yeah, and then it works. Okay, so as you can see, this time it's different. First of all, we can take a look at the underside of the table, and it works great. And also this time we actually have some decent looking surroundings as well. Not everywhere. It was a very quick shot in the end of the surroundings, so you see they're a bit messy partially, but here in this direction, for example, they look absolutely amazing. Okay, next we will take this over to 3ds Max. So this is the Gaussian Splat model integrated into Max and properly scaled to real life size. And despite us streaming in the moment, you can see that we can still very nicely navigate around this. And despite having tons of information included here, it's still very lightweight. The viewport is active and interactive, and this is very cool. So let's take a look at this. Why did I choose this table? Why? What do you think? I think I can hear you, but I know that you'll be guessing right. I choose the table because I want to place something atop of it. Okay, I have a camera. Here you see where it is. This is nothing spectacular. It's just a camera facing the table, and that's it. So let's render and take a look at how it looks like. It looks like this. It's very similar to what we just saw in PostShot, right? Okay. Let me just check out a few things about the camera, because I still have that field on it. And okay, you don't see my layers, but you also don't need to. Anyway, let's try and put something onto this table. In the meantime, I'll just take a look at Amit's command. So the quality of the splats depends upon how detailed the video you have shot and how much training it is given for the splats output. Exactly. Yes. Not only of how detailed the video is, it also depends on the quality of the video. Those videos that you saw so far have already all been shot in 1080 resolution, which isn't incredibly high. That it could have been 4K, then the resolution would have been way higher. But yeah, if you train for longer, then the final outcome would also be better. Okay, let's put something here. So we'll open the Cosmos browser, and I just took this banana bow, and I'll just put it in the scene. Hopefully, I mean, it's a live show, so probably Max will die out at some point, but so far everything's been stable. I think you can follow. So yeah, if there is an issue, let me know. If not, we'll just continue. Let's move this around a bit until it's a bit more centered on the table, and let's render once again. And then we will see something which is a bit of an issue. We have this scene, this is beautifully lit up, but our banana bow is absolutely not illuminated at all. It reflects a bit, but there is no illumination. And once again, remember or think back about the pumpkin model that we inserted into 3ds Max. We just put it in and we just press the render button and it immediately worked. What we did, no lighting setup. And the reason is, and we see that there is no lighting setup here because the bow is currently dark. And this is, of course, a bit of a limitation of the Gaussian splats. They are they're like self-illuminated, okay? You should imagine the Gaussian splats like a 3D HDRI. You can, contrary to a 3D, to HDRI, which is just a, spherical surrounding, here you do actually have this point cloud and you do actually have the geometry. And as you can tell, this banana bow is actually placed atop of this geometry. However, the Gaussian splat contains all of its light data baked into the splats. And this is, of course, a big limitation because it doesn't absolutely affect anything else. So you don't have a global illumination coming with the Gaussian splat that also comes to all the other objects in the scene. No, they're absolutely independent. The Gaussian splat has its own lighting. It's like self-illuminated. It has the light data baked in. And if you want to have other objects with the Gaussian splat surrounding, then you need to illuminate your other objects separately. And obviously, you need to illuminate them in a way which matches the illumination of your Gaussian splat model. So in this particular case, I just went with DOM, with an HDRI from the Cosmos library. I will just turn it on now, and if we put this back here and then we press the interactive random button, we will take a look at, yeah, just need to change my camera settings. I make the F number 8. And then you'll see that now the banana ball will be properly illuminated. So you need to think in advance. If you want to have a scene which is illuminated by the sun, where you have long shadows or something like this, then you need to create the splat in a moment where the sun shines and there are shadows. And then you can do something like this. Amit says, does this apply to drone shots as well, where the drone covers a larger area, for example, a city block, and if you want to put a building in that block, then you have to have a close-up shots of the surroundings as well. So does post-shot combine two videos and make it one single splat model with the entire area with all the high-res detail? Hope I'm clear. Yeah, you're clear, and we'll talk about it in a minute. So wait, you get your answer. Regarding if post-shot can work with two videos, I'm not sure, but maybe you can cut the two videos together and then feed it to post-shot, but I'm not sure if it will recognize single buildings. This is something that we need to experiment with. So, okay, let's go back to our table here. The banana bowl is now properly illuminated, but there is another issue. It absolutely doesn't connect to the table. It just looks like it's done in Photoshop. It just placed the top of it in Photoshop. And the reason is, once again, Gaussian splat models aren't meshes. This is no real geometry. This is a point cloud, more or less. So the same way, if you have a tree, let's say you have spherical HDRI surrounding and you have a tree in your scene, this tree won't throw any shadow on the HDRI, right? The same way, objects here don't throw any shadows onto the Gaussian splat surfaces, because these are point clouds. So what you can do here, what we need to do here is to work with shadow catchers. To create a shadow catcher, I'll show you. I'll just take this dummy that I chose that I used in order to properly scale the imported Gaussian splat model. Then I just, or let me not describe it like this. I will just clone it. Not as an instance, but as a copy. And then let's quickly do an edit poly. And then remove everything else but the cap. Delete it. Then the cap we can maybe center to object here so that we can scale it down a bit. Just a tiny bit. And what we should do next is press the right mouse button, because if I render the way it is now, obviously this geometry will show up. It's not a shadow catcher yet. So what I need to do next is press the right mouse button onto the surface. I hope it happens. Then you see down here V-Ray properties, and then you go to matte object, matte for reflection and refraction. Make the alpha contribution to -1, and then direct light, shadows, and effect alpha. Those two you also need to check. And then we close this, and then we have turned our surface into a shadow catcher. And if we take a look now, you see that suddenly the bowl of bananas connects with the table underneath, and it looks like it is actually placed atop of it, which is exactly what we wanted to achieve at the first place. Now you may say, well, how does it help me? I can do something like this with an HDRI. Well, yes, but once again, if you rotate the camera, the ball will still be placed on this table, and this is a huge advantage. Also, the next thing is that even though the Gaussian splats aren't Daniel asks, does the point cloud give off a reflection? Yeah, it definitely does. We saw it in the beginning where we had no light onto this. Let me remove the light here. Where are you? Oh, sorry. Let me remove the map here, and you see that the bananas will now get dark, but they will still reflect the top of this table, because once again, this is as if it was self-illuminated. This is the big difference. And also one more thing, despite those Gaussian splats not reacting to light, shadows, and not being actual geometry, they actually react to your camera settings. So if we go back to our camera and let's say enable depth of field and go to a f number of 1 so that we have pretty strong blurring in the background, obviously this will change our lighting perception too, so we have to fix this as well. But let's take a look at this. Amit says, what is the difference between the method you showed and directly making the object as a shadow catcher object? You can do it this way. I just prefer the other way around. You know, I'm not that used to V-Ray because I'm a Corona user, so I usually tend to do this, all of this that I'm showing you in Corona, obviously not the Gaussian splats, but shadow catchers and stuff, I just do the way I know in V-Ray, so your method is exactly as legit as mine. But yeah, take a look at this. Here, the Gaussian splat model reacted to the depth of field, and we ended up with something which looks very, very realistic. And if you were to save this image and send it to somebody, they would think that somewhere in a very untidy part of somebody's garden with lots of autumn leaves on the floor, there somebody has placed a bowl of bananas for some reason. So I think that this outcome is really, really looking good already. So as you can see, with Gaussian splats, you need to just have the right approach. They have their limitations, but they also have huge advantages. You just need to approach them the right way. So you need to plan ahead and just think about what kind of surrounding you want to have, what type of lighting you want to have to your scene, and then create the Gaussian splat model the way you need it to, and then work with shadow catchers in order to create something like this. Amit says, okay, thank you, learned a new way to make the object as a shadow catcher. That's pretty cool, right? Okay, but this is not everything. I want to show you, let's get bigger and let me show you a large scale example, something that Amit just asked for. So I will now close this scene. We don't have to save it. I already have it saved. And I'll show you a video that I took with my drone, because as you know, I'm also a drone pilot for a while now, and sometimes I do drone work as well. So this video, it takes a second to start, but then you will see what we will try to do next. Okay, it takes more than a second to start, it seems. Yeah, it's a video shot in 4K, so with the live going on, it's a bit slow right now. But yeah, what we have here is a circular scenic drone flight around this building. This is what was the main goal of my drone shot, this corner building with its own property and this parking lot here in the back. As you can see, there is also a lot of city to be seen in the back, but the focus here obviously lies on this building being depicted from all sides. So yeah, this is 2.5 minute 4K video that I then took over to Photoshop, and here is how the outcome looks like. Once again, this is a 4K video, and in this particular case, I also let it train for 60,000 steps in order to get a better looking model. By the way, what you see here to the left, I didn't show you those buttons, but usually in the beginning when you start the software, they're turned on. So the first one turns on and off the gizmo. The second one shows you the actual camera angles. So you see it here with the drone, it's just a circle. Here we have the point cloud that you can enable or disable the visibility of. I personally don't like it, and I only keep the final one. If you remove the final one, you don't see the splat anymore. So yeah, here we see what we ended up with, and I must say this is truly amazing. We don't only have the building, but we also have very, very decent looking surroundings as well. It says missing update today. I think he's making his new video, which he will, which we will see shortly in the group. Yeah, I think he's working on this rare clone fence tutorial, which would be amazing. Great macro. Daniel, quick side question regarding drones. What are the regulations in Germany? In Switzerland, we have to ask for police permission each time, plus other restrictions as well. Yeah, here is the same. I mean, it's Germany. If bureaucracy has a synonym, it's Germany. So you can imagine we have to do it here as well. I had to also get a permission from the police, from the building owner, and actually you're not allowed to fly above residential areas. But given that this is not really a residential area, it was okay. But yeah, it's difficult. You don't just take your drone and take videos and photos in areas like this. In the green areas, if it's not under nature preservation, then it's okay. But yeah, and the drone is limited to a height of 120 meters, which is also limiting, but it's the way it is. Daniel continues, we have to pay 50 francs each time. Oh, I don't have to pay anything. Okay, so you have it worse. You won. Okay, let's continue here with this model. So next thing I did, as you can imagine, I put it over in 3ds Max, and this is what it looks like there. And I must admit that it is, it looks amazing. Just take a look at it. And once again, think about the amount of information included into this splat model and take a look at the viewport. It's really quick. It's very responsive. It works like charm. Okay. Now let's go over and take a look at this. So I placed the camera. You can see where it is. So here is the corner building and here is our camera. Nothing fancy. And this is what the camera sees. So next thing I will do is I will start the interactive render similar to last time. And this is what we see, which once again looks very, very realistic. Now imagine following scenario. This parking lot, let's say the owner of this building doesn't want this stupid parking lot to be there and wants to build a new high-rise building there instead. Of course, they can maybe, as a 3D artist, they can provide you with a 3D, like a drone photo or, I don't know, something. You can maybe extract something out of Google Earth as well. And then you can move over to do a collage. You can do perspective match in 3D Studio Max, for example. But of course, this is tedious to do. This doesn't work out perfectly every time. And yeah, it's not a perfect solution. But let's say you match your buildings to the photo, then you draw the shadow in post-production. But let's say the building is a modern office building. It has a lot of glass to it. What would you do then? Where will you get the reflections and refractions for that glass from? So this is what I decided to experiment with next. So I took one of those models from the Cosmos library twice actually and put them atop of each other to create my so-called high-rise building. And once again, this is what it looks like. Simon says, if Germany is a synonym for bureaucracy, then Switzerland is a synonym for monocracy. Oh, this is a great word. I remember this one. So yeah, and I just spoke about the reflections. Here they are. Because if you have a building seen from this direction, you will actually have to see the backside of this corner building in the reflections. And you cannot create something like this with photo matching or with HDRI. This is just impossible. But with the help of Gaussian splat models, you can actually do something like this. And you see our building here has exactly the reflection that it needs to have in real life. So of course I need to stop it because we don't have any light. Next thing I will do is I will enable our dome. Once again, you just need to make sure that the HDRI or the sun and sky system that you use matches the conditions from your Gaussian splat model. So in this particular case, contrary to the table that we just had, in this particular case, it's an overcast day, but there are still some shadows. So obviously we needed an HDRI with also some shadows to it. And because this is a high-rise building, some of those shadows will actually fall onto this corner one. And what you need to do next, obviously, is we need to make the shadow catchers. So we need one for the floor, and then let's say two dummies for the corner building. I made it really sloppily, I gotta admit. So if you do it as a commercial project, you obviously spend more time on the creation of those dummies, but then suddenly you see the shadow from this high-rise building actually projecting onto this. You see those dark corners here? And so we have something very, very realistic looking. And I think, yeah, we just did it within minutes. We placed the new building here. So what are the advantages? Okay, we placed it here. It looks nice. I'll show you actually a final outcome of this. I have it somewhere. Where is our page? Here it is. This is how the final outcome looks like. And if you ask me, it looks very, very cool. It doesn't look like something done in a few minutes, but like a very, very professional architectural visualization shot. And the advantages here are, it's not only that this looks pretty good and we have very realistic looking surroundings, we also have very realistic looking, why did I close it actually? We also have very realistic looking reflections and also accurate ones, refractions as well, and not last but not least, the scale of the building and the perspective are absolutely perfect because it's an actual 3D model. You didn't do any photo matching or perspective matching. You actually place the model where it belongs. And this is, of course, a huge quality because if you do perspective matching and you have different angles, it becomes easily very, very difficult. In our case here, however, I can always change the perspective. And the good thing about, I'll just hide the dummies for a second. The good thing about this is that the reflections and refractions, the size, the scaling will still stay right, because if you can take a look at this to the left, you see that the new buildings are actually placed where they belong. And also one more thing, the Gaussian splats actually also act like an alpha map. So if they cover the new building to a certain extent, this will also show up in the render. So they are, okay, what happened here? Something happened, I messed up. Oh yeah, of course, I don't have my proper camera settings. So yeah, I probably need to go way down with the illumination. Yeah, here we are. But you see that our new building is actually hidden behind the corner building. So this is really, really impressive. Now, going back to Amit's question, I think if we want to make a street view, like if we want to really place ourselves on the street and take a look at the new building from down under, it won't work out properly because the drone was high as it was capturing the footage, and we have no real footage from this, I don't know, how are these called? I don't know, from this section, let's call it like this. So this won't work, but you see, we changed the perspective here, the reflections changed as well, the building is hidden behind the existing one, the shadows are still there, and it is actually a help which is immense. So to summarize this, oh, and one last thing. If you say, well, Theo, I don't have a drone, or I don't have 50 francs to pay in order to fly my drone in a city, well, I got your back, because you can actually use Google Earth, or better Google Earth Studio, to simulate drone style videos. Just take a look at this one. It's from the Colosseum, and it's more or less the same as I just showed you in with my own drone footage. I'll drop you the video in the comments, and you can take a look at it later. But as you can see, it is very much possible. I have to stop this render at some point. It is very much possible to create drone-like videos from Google Earth footage, which means in turn that you then can create 3D Gaussian splats based on those videos and create your own surroundings, which is once again absolutely amazing, because just try to imagine the time needed to create all those buildings from scratch. This will take forever. So yeah, and as photogrammetry, it will work, of course. It will be actual geometry. This is the difference. This is the main difference. Photogrammetry reacts to light. It reacts to shadows because it's actual geometry. But a model like this will be incredibly heavy, and it will take forever to create and not just a few minutes. So it's always a balance act. But I think that we can conclude that with the Gaussian Splat models that are now supported in V-Ray 7, Chaos gave us a very powerful and unique tool that definitely opens new horizons and really makes me think about at least temporarily switching over to V-Ray. So yeah, you won't be creating new assets for your libraries with this because you're not creating geometry, but you will be creating wonderful surroundings and saving tons of time if you use this technique. I hope this was clear because we also have to do some reviewing and we're already an hour and 20 minutes in. But I hope this was useful to you. I hope this was clear. If you have any questions, you can also ask me after the show or ask in the Keeping It Realistic chat or whatever. But yeah, I think that Gaussian splats are really amazing despite all their limitations. We just need to think ahead and take in account what the limitations are and try to find a way around them. And then it works like charm. Daniel asked, are they planning on adding any useful features in Corona? As far as I know, they are. If it's about Gaussian splats, I'm not sure, because the issue is that the code of, oh, good that I tidy up my desktop from time to time, otherwise it would have been awkward now. But yeah, I mean, the code of Corona and V-Ray, the codes are simply very, very different. So it's not possible to just, add something new, a new feature to V-Ray, and then just immediately copy it over to Corona. This is why we have different states for these two render engines. But yeah, there are some really cool new features and improvements approaching with Corona too. I'll check the two comments by Amit and Simon, and then we can start talking about the work in progress projects. So Amit says, when we take a 3D model and incorporate it with the splats, then does the 3D model block away that part of the splat, or does it intersect with it? Well, if it covers, like you saw it here. Like I placed that building here. I placed it atop of the parking lot. So it covers it up, but it will intersect with it otherwise. Say we have a glass material on a 3D model, and if we go close to that glass material, then we will see the splats through it, or inside of it, or we'll see whatever objects we have placed inside the glass material. Yeah, I mean, if we would be inside of the building and we're looking out, we will see the Gaussian splat model as a surrounding. Someone asks, I remember with the Google Earth when I put V-Ray Sun, it affected the lights and shadows. Isn't working like that here. No, because the splats are incorporate the light data of the scene, so it doesn't work. But I'm sure that Gaussian splats will start getting bigger and more of a thing now that V-Ray supports them. I'm sure other render engines would also try to follow, and at some point, someone will find a way to remove this light data from the splats, and then they may eventually react to the light in your scene. But once again, in order to do so, they may also need to be actual geometry. So I'm not sure how this whole thing will work out, but once again, with the power of AI, machine learning and stuff, at some point, something like this will probably work out. And then it will be heaven.